Are you ready? We're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Sutphin, and I am the magistrate today for these hearings of September 8th, 2022. I'm filling in for the regular special magistrate, so bear with me. I'm going to read some instructions to you all for the process of how these hearings will go today. This meeting is open to the public under Florida's Government and the Sunshine Law. Therefore, every effort will be made to hear all persons having relevant evidence or argument to offer. The ethics law of the state of Florida requires that the county keep track of every person who appears before an official hearing officer of the county, whether in an effort to influence the special magistrate's decision-making or to encourage the passage, defeat, or modification of any proposal or recommendation of the special magistrate. In order to implement the state law, it is required that every person who appears before the special magistrate needs to be registered with the clerk before the special magistrate. So if you have not done that and gotten with the clerk before now, please go ahead and do so. The cases where the respondents are present and signed in will be heard first. So if you have a copy of the agenda with you, we won't necessarily follow the order of the agenda, but you will be called. Once the cases where a respondent is present and called, if you will have a seat at the table reserved for the respondent. The county has the burden to prove the violation, so they will go first. They will present their case, and you will be allowed to present your case following the county's presentation of their case. If you have witnesses, the county may cross-examine your witnesses, and you may cross-examine the county's witnesses as well. I will make a decision here today based on the evidence and testimony that has been presented by both you and the county. And all of the proceedings are being recorded, so please make sure that you speak clearly into the microphone that is at the table. If you do need any assistance for any hearing impairment or language barrier, please also see the clerk and inform her of those impairments or barriers so that we can try to accommodate you. And then to avoid any interference with the cases, please silence your cell phones and any other electronic devices. And we will get started now. I thank you for your cooperation. We're going to go ahead and do some housekeeping items and call a case that the county has agreed to already. That case is case number 2267 CESM, Tawny Investment Incorporated, and the registered agent is Robert Dimitri. That the property address where the violation was found is 1025 Miller Drive. The order that was entered previously in that case is amended for a compliance date of December 8th and a fine to accrue of $50 a day if not brought into compliance by December 8th. Is that all on that matter that was agreed to? Okay. All right. The next matter we are going to hear is case number 22-70 CESM, Fred Boothby.
Your Honor, if I may make one point for you.
Absolutely.
There are two cases against Mr. Boothby, and our defense and with the witnesses are going to address both of those cases. So if you want to present both violations and we can respond to both of them, because that's kind of how we got it set up.
Would you like to hear both cases together?
Yes, Your Honor. We're going to do our case first, and then we'll do the case with the zoning code enforcement.
Oh, okay. So we're going to do them back to back, but we aren't going to open them together.
Okay.
Well, okay. The witnesses, any witness that is providing testimony needs to be sworn in. Oh, okay. Yes. Let's go ahead. And anyone who is going to be providing testimony here today, even if this is not your case, if you'll please stand and raise your right hand.
Both of you, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I will remind you that you're under oath. If you'll go ahead and, the county is going to get started with their case first.
Oh, thanks. Let me give you guys a handout for you guys and the clerk and the magistrate. Okay, thanks. Is that enough? Yeah.
Thank you.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
Accepted.
Case number 2270 CESM is for the property located at 947 Fern Drive in Longwood, which is owned by Fred R. Boothby. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violations are the installation of a shed, wooden privacy fence, 3 shipping containers, and 2 gates without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 1/24/22. The notice to respondent was on 2/1/22. Compliance date was 3/21/22. Follow-up inspections as shown, both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections, the violations remain on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Fred R. Boothby is the record owner of the property. This is a photograph showing the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violations, and we'll have a few photographs of violations. This was taken 3/7/22. And this shows, highlighted there, the shipping containers, fence. Taken 3/29/22, showing the containers again and another gate. 8/22/22, showing the gate and again shipping containers, fence, sheds. Continuing to 9/7/22. This screen shows that no permits have been applied for or issued to correct the violations. Permit number 21-12180 shown on the screen is for a 60 amp for an irrigation well. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2270 CESM, it is recommended that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violations on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violations. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or are repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Your Honor, just so I might repeat, I'm Bill Osborne. I represent Mr. Boothby. We have the same argument and the same presentation for both violations, so I can go ahead and do that now and just suggest that that's going to apply to the second violation as well. Is that how you'd like to proceed?
Only one case is open at this time. So
Okay.
let's handle them as the cases are open
Okay.
for the record. Thank
All
you.
right. Would you like a brief overview of what my witnesses are going to say, or should I just go right into it, Your Honor?
No, I don't want you to tell me what your witness is going to say. I want your witness to tell me what he's going to say.
That's a better idea anyway. Okay. I would first call Andrew Blate to my left. State your full name for the magistrate, please.
Andrew Lawrence Blake,
What is your profession or occupation?
business owner.
And what is your relationship to the property that's the subject of this violation, which is 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, Seminole County, Florida?
I'm the tenant.
Okay. What is your general business, Mr. Blade?
So we have a landscape installation business.
I want you to, I've given everybody a packet of information. I'd like you to look at the first page of that at a document entitled Agricultural Wholesale Lease Agreement. Tell the magistrate what this is, please.
This is something that allows me as the tenant to build out the presence of citrus trees. I'm working with a gentleman at AETM Ranch.
All right, and that would be Mr. Meads behind us, seated behind us, correct?
Yes. Yes.
The date of your lease agreement is August 1st, 2022. Tell the magistrate what, in terms of the types of citrus noted on this document, what type of citrus you plan to put on this property.
So these are either drought-resistant or vermin-resistant trees.
Okay. And how many trees are going to go on the property? How many citrus trees are going on the property?
About 160.
And is the use of the property under this lease changing from what it was when you first became a tenant for Mr. Boothby?
It is, yeah.
In what way?
This is an evolution towards citrus trees.
Okay. Turn to the next document on the packet provided to everybody, and tell the magistrate what this document is.
So this is the result of the state landscape inspector, authorizing us as a nursery.
Okay, and what did you have to do to get this document from Nikki Freed as the Commissioner of Agriculture?
The gentleman, the inspector, had to come to the site, review what we had on site, the setups that we had, and I had to complete the paperwork.
How many plants do you have on site right now?
About 1,000.
How large is the property that you're leasing from Mr. Boothby?
1 acre.
Is the property conducive to growing citrus or plants?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Well, it's already irrigated. There's already an appropriate amount of space and sunlight. It's well set up for trees.
Did you have a discussion with Mr. Boothby about applying for and getting a classification of agricultural on this land from the Seminole County property appraiser?
Yes.
Turn to the next sheet there in the packet. And did you and Mr. Boothby, did you discuss with him the filing of this application on August 26, 2022, to have this land classified as agricultural?
Yes.
What is your understanding, if any, of what happens to this property if it's classified as agricultural?
Then the citrus trees are allowed to continue. The current setup is allowed to continue.
Okay. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Mr. Blake.
I have a couple of questions. So does the property currently have its agricultural exemption through the property appraiser?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Does the county have anything that it would like to add?
As far as the construction violations go, even an agricultural classification wouldn't actually change our case, seeing as even on agriculturally zoned properties, you would still need a permit for privacy fence, for gates due to fire department access, and for any accessory buildings.
Your Honor, could I respond to that, since that's basically an argument? If you look at the last document on the packet, Your Honor, that's the Florida Right to Farm Act, 82314, and it talks about the legislature under paragraph 2, finding that agricultural production is a major contributor to the economy of the state, goes through that. And it then talks, if you go to the second to last page, it talks about what the effect is when this application is approved, if it is approved, and it becomes agricultural, then this exemption or exclusion on paragraph 6 comes into play. And basically it says that it's the intent of the legislature to eliminate duplication of regulatory authority over farm operations as expressed in this subsection. except as otherwise provided for this in this section. And a statute that's related to pesticides is mentioned there. And notwithstanding any other provisions of law, a local government may not adopt any ordinance, regulation, rule, or policy pursuant or otherwise limit an activity of a bona fide farm operation on land classified as agricultural and land pursuant to, and this is 193.461, which is the statute under which Mr. Boothby has applied for an agricultural classification with the property appraiser, and therefore the state basically preempts any local regulation. And that's our position, Your Honor. What we'd like to do is suggest to the court that you defer, delay ruling on these violations such that this application for agricultural classification can go into play. We can't guarantee it's going to be approved. We don't know why it wouldn't be. It's going to be agricultural. And then these become moot. And I think everybody's served by delaying and letting this happen. And what Mr. Mead's going to talk about is what he intended to do with the citrus that's on his property.
The fact that he has testified that it's not, doesn't have its agricultural certification at this date, it's in violation. There is no, you have said yourself, there's no guarantee that the agricultural exemption will be, status will be given. And so I'm going to, do you have further testimony that you'd like to give?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry, if you don't mind, I did want to elaborate on the exception that was applied for several months ago initially. So,
I have, the application I have says August of 2022.
yeah, it started in June. We had an issue with the parcel ID, our fault, but it was a process that we attempted in earnest starting in, I think it was June or July.
And the statute still requires that it be done by March in order to meet the timeframes. So if you have additional testimony.
I do, Your Honor. State your full name for the magistrate, please.
James M. Mead.
What is your profession or
I'm a
occupation?
business owner, agricultural business owner.
Has your family been involved in the citrus business in
100 years.
in Central Florida?
Close to 100 years.
What happened to your family's citrus business?
The citrus was wiped out by the freeze of in 1980s and 1990s. My grandfather passed away in 1995. It was never replanted. Then greening wiped out the rest of it, and I have the opportunity now through this to have trees that were going to be grown by Andrew that will be disease resistant and freeze resistant. In Florida, for the first time in 2020, produced less oranges than California. This has never been in my lifetime, and it's kind of distressing to me because of greening and because of freezes. And now, we have the opportunity to plant disease and green-resistant trees, so I'm hoping that you'll look favorably upon this application.
Did you assist Mr. Boothby and Mr. Blade in determining what types of trees should be placed in the lease agreement that's before the magistrate?
Yes, I did.
And why did you choose those types of trees?
Well, the mandarins are freeze-resistant. The sugar bells and the other ones listed are disease-resistant.
At whatever point in time that Mr. Blade is able to begin planting trees, are you a customer?
Oh, yeah.
And in what way?
I'm looking forward to buying the trees from him and having them planted on our citrus grove in Christmas, Florida.
How many acres is that?
40 acres.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Do you have anything further?
Yes, Your Honor. Upon speaking with the building official, we are willing to extend that 60 days to 90 days in order to give them a little more time to try to get that application through before they would be accruing any fines.
So through December 8th?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything further?
No, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and order that what the county has requested. I'm finding that as of the date of the violations, the county has attempted to work with the property owner for several months And by testimony provided by the tenant, the application still wasn't even put in for several months after the county tried to work with the property owner on the violations. So I'm going to go ahead and find the property owner in violation of the county codes that have been reported in the notice and by the officer here today. I'm going to order that the property be brought into compliance, however that occurs. Just that the property be brought into compliance by December 8th, 2022 at 8 a.m. or incur a fine of $50 a day.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you. And I believe you're here for the next case as well? Okay. We'll go ahead and call 2022-71-CESM, Fred Boothie. I don't have a...
Good afternoon, Mary Robinson with Planning and Development Services, Planner and Code Enforcement Officer for Seminole County Government. This is a case located at 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, 32779 in Seminole County, Florida. The violation charge is Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 60. The violation is removal of trees without an arbor permit. The case summary, initial inspection was 2/13/22. Notices to the respondent, 2/23/22, 3/22/22, with compliance dates of 3/9/22 and 4/5/22. My follow-up inspections were 6/9/22 and 7/9/22. And the results of the reinspection, no arbor permit has been submitted to Development Services for review and approval. The next slide, this is the property appraiser's record card, showing that Mr. Boothby is the owner of the property. And I would like to point out that the land DOR use code assigned by the property appraiser is vacant residential. When a property has an agricultural classification assigned by the property owner, the use code is G1-agriculture. The next slide are copies of the undeliverable certified mail, as the record address on file with the property appraiser was 1490 Markham Woods Cove, Longwood. And it wasn't until just recently that Mr. Boothby contacted the building department with an alternative address of where he was living. The next slide is also the same. The Sunbiz Division of Corporations shows Mr. Boothby as the registered agent. The next slide are the posted property code violations. And the next slide are proof of posting, notice of hearing. The next slide is an aerial photo dated 2021 showing the extensive tree cover on the property. Now, granted, if the G1 classification was assigned to this property, they could have removed the trees without a permit. But they did not get a classification of agricultural, so they are in violation of Chapter 60 of the Harbor Ordinance. The next slide is a picture showing that there are virtually no trees on the site. If you look down in the right corner of that picture, you'll see some trees standing there. They appear to be palms. The suggested recommendation is, based on the testimony evidence presented in case number 22-71 CESM, it's determined that the respondent is the owner of the record property at 947 Fern Drive, located in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser records. And he is in possession or control of the property and is in violation of Seminole County Land Development Code, Chapter 60, Arbor Regulations. This next slide is a section of Chapter 60.24. This is the authority to impose fine in County Arbor Trust Fund. And basically, it determines the type of trees that, what the fine would be for the type and size of trees. And since we cannot determine that, if the DBH of the trees cannot be determined, there shall be a rebuttable presumption that the diameter breast height of each tree removed was in excess of 12 inches but less than 24 inches. If the number of trees removed cannot reasonably be determined, then there shall be a rebuttable presumption that the density of the trees removed was 100 trees per acre, and the number of trees removed shall be calculated using that density applied to the cleared areas. The maximum fine per acre shall not exceed $10,000. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before, I'm sorry, I have an incorrect date there. That should have been October 14th, 2022. And in order to correct the respondent shall, if he does not comply with the order, a maximum fine of $10,000 be imposed for the arbor violation. And the respondent must contact the code enforcement officer to schedule a reinspection.
And as far as coming into compliance, do you mean securing an arborist permit, or do you mean replanting trees? What are you asking?
He can hire I would suggest hiring an arborist to determine the type of tree, and he can replant, give me an inventory of the size of the trees, and he can replant the trees, or he can pay into the county tree fund.
And
which will be determined by the chart that's in the code.
But you have no idea how many trees were removed?
No, based on the aerial photo, I would say most of the trees were removed, because it was a pretty substantially wooded site.
Okay.
Can you go back to the aerial?
Okay, can you go back to the formula, the tree formula for me, please? Okay.
To determine the, yeah.
Okay, let's leave that up for a moment. Do you have any further testimony?
I would like to add that another case was presented to the Seminole County Code Enforcement Board by Seminole County Code Enforcement under the Sheriff's Office. They were found to be in violation of operating a business were not permitted, because he has submitted paperwork to our office in the form of what's called a pre-application stating that he is a landscape contractor. And a landscape contractor is not permitted in that zoning classification unless they have a wholesale nursery.
But that was a separate case.
Yes.
And so.
But I just wanted to clear that up for the record, because he did say he had a wrong parcel number with reference to the agricultural application, and it was a pre-application for a special exception to be a landscape contractor in conjunction with a wholesale nursery.
Okay, all right. Would you like to go forward?
As far as the record goes, do I need to recreate the record I did for the last violation again?
If you are proposing to argue the Right to Farm Act statute, yes, you need to recreate the record.
Okay. Come on up, Andrew. State your name for the magistrate, please.
Andrew Bleat,
What is your profession or occupation?
business owner,
What is the name of your business?
Competitive Edge Landscaping,
What is located at 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, Florida?
nursery,
And what is this?
and our vehicles.
What's the nature of your nursery business?
So right now, we have 1,000 plants being grown there that we are the same type of plant that we use to install every day in our commercial landscaping business. Right now, they are often purchased from other nurseries.
And the packet I've already provided is now going to be put in evidence for this violation. Tell us about your lease agreement with Mr. Boothby dated August 1, 2022.
So this allows for the expansion into citrus trees.
And what type of citrus and how many citrus trees does this contemplate?
160 citrus trees, and based on them being disease and cold resistant.
And in terms of the state of Florida, what's the next document indicate as far as what the status is of your nursery registration with the state of Florida?
So that's the approved nursery registration.
How does that work with or in conjunction with how Seminole County needs to be involved with your nursery business?
This was a requirement for the exemption that we have applied for or pre-applied for.
And who are you dealing with regarding your exemption?
I'm sorry,
You don't know which person in Seminole County?
not great with names.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay.
Where am I?
And again, in terms of the next document, which would be the Florida Statute 193-461, application for classification of lands, what was your involvement with Mr. Boothby in making this happen?
So we worked together to determine the plan for the citrus trees.
Do you know how long it's going to take for the Seminole County property appraiser to review this application?
I don't know.
Okay. Do you have the ability at this point in that subject property to accommodate the number of trees that you've got set forth in your lease to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. We have water irrigation pump.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, sir, did you remove the trees from the property?
No, the owner had done that. This was before I became a tenant.
Do you know when the trees were removed?
I don't.
We can answer that question with the next witness, Your Honor.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Blade?
No. My chart disappeared. The chart I had. That slide, I can't find it.
State your name for the record, Mr. Mead,
My name is James Mead.
and what is your profession or occupation?
I'm in the agricultural business. I also do silvicultural work.
Do what kind of work?
Silvicultural, selling trees.
Okay. And tell the court again what your family history has been growing citrus.
Been growing citrus for over 100 years.
And do you currently have acreage that's available to grow citrus on?
40 acres in Christmas.
Have you had any discussions with Mr. Blade about purchasing citrus that he can grow on the property that's located at 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, Florida?
I directed him on what trees to grow that would be disease-resistant and freeze-resistant.
What role, if any, did you have on removing trees from the subject property located at 947 Fern Drive, Longwood, Florida?
I found a buyer.
Okay. Did you have the trees removed from the property?
The buyer removed the trees from the property, the citrus buyer.
How many trees?
I mean, not the citrus buyer, the tree buyer.
How many trees were removed?
There were three trailers, three tractor trailers full, probably a total of, I'm guessing, about 70 to 80 trees,
How big a circumference were these trees?
from 12 inches to 18 inches.
Do you have pictures on your cell phone that you could show to the folks here at Seminole County indicating that the load on the...
Yes, there were
the
three. I've got pictures of all three loads that were removed from the site.
We would offer that if somebody would like to look at those, Your Honor.
Yeah, we'd need the pictures, actually, to be placed into
I'll figure out a way to
evidence.
get them printed for you.
If you're looking to present them into evidence.
We'd have to do that after the fact, Your Honor, with your permission, and to have those printed up and submitted. He's got them on his phone, but we don't have them in a situation where we can share them at this point in time.
I could email or forward them to somebody, text them to
If-
somebody.
If you don't have them here with you today.
I do,
to
I have them on.
To put them into evidence, then they won't be made part of the record.
if someone at Seminole County could help me do that, I could email them to them and they could print them.
It is the responsibility of the respondent to come to the hearing with his evidence.
We have no further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, let me ask you a few questions. I want to clarify. You said 70 to 80 trees were removed?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is this buyer that removed the trees?
This was Bill. This Logger Bill is what I call him.
No, and
They
this
went to-
gentleman...
They went to Old Castle, which is a mulch, and they were made into mulch.
Is Old Castle a company?
Yes.
So
They're
did
in,
Old
like-
Castle purchase the,
From him. He purchased the trees from Mr. Boothby, or paid Mr. Boothby for the trees, and then he hauled them on logging trucks, which I have pictures of, to Old Castle for use.
so Mr. Boothby commissioned the removal of the trees from his property?
Yes.
Okay.
Through me, though. You know, I negotiated the deal.
And they were in between, they were 24 inches or larger trees?
No. They were 12 to 18 inches. I have photos.
What types of trees are
They
they?
were all hardwood trees, 100% hardwood,
Can you tell me types of trees?
like hickory and oak, oral oaks. Hickory is in oaks, mostly oaks, I think. Like I said, I have photos if you'd like to see them.
Not if you can't put them into evidence.
Okay. If I had known, I would have done that. I didn't know.
Your Honor, I'd like to make one comment before you rule, if I could.
Sure, I want to ask the
Okay.
county a question, but you certainly may.
Okay. Your Honor, if I heard correctly, that if this property had been deemed to be agricultural in a G1, there would be no violation. And I would suggest to the court that if we can wait till December 8th again for this classification to be processed by the Seminole County property appraiser, this will become moot because this will be agricultural property not requiring a permit.
Thank you. Make this not hot. Okay, do you have anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Is there anything further from the county?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I'm taking the testimony that was provided related to the types of trees that were removed and what is intended for the property. I am being told through your testimony that you have no intention of replanting the types of trees that are required by the preferred trees in Seminole County. So I find the removal of these trees without an arborist stating that they were diseased or in some way endangering life or property, that there is an irreparable and irreversible nature to the removal. And I'm going to impose a fine of $5,000 to be paid within 30 days. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let me... The next matter that we're going to hear is case number 22-41-CESM, Shratech Incorporated, if I said that correctly.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
So accepted.
Case number 2241 CESM is for the property located at 310 Barron Cove, Altamont Springs, which is owned by Shratech Inc. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is construction of an elevated entry and installation of new windows without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 7/27/21. Notice to respondent was on 7/28/21. Compliance date was 2/9/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of re-inspections, the violations remain on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Shratech Inc. is the record owner of the property. This photograph shows the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. And next are a series of photos of the violations. This is the elevated entry taken on 7/27/21. Another of the elevated entry, 7/27/21. This is showing the front and the two new windows taken on 1/21/22. These are door knockers that were left, showing that we did visit the site but were unable to get a hold of anyone. And this is another photo taken 9/7/22. All right. This screen shows that no permits have been applied for or issued to correct the violations. Permit 13660, as shown on the screen, was for a water heater, AC, repipe, stucco, and re-roof. And permit number 13-659, shown on the screen, is for a fence. Neither of those address the violation. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2241 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 310 Barron Cove, Altamont Springs, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violations, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violations. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violations continue or are repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Sir?
Yes, my name is Sudhir Kumar, and I am the owner of the business and of the house. So we had hired a contractor to do the, some minor work actually, replace a window and do drywall, etc. This is the first time I had done anything like this, a renovation. It so happened that contractor did not take the permit, and while I was gone out of town for work to Dallas, he had built this deck without my knowledge. So when I came back, I asked him to get, permit, etc., because I knew that for deck we need permit, or for roofing also we need permit. In response to my request, he left, and he left with my money also, which I reported as a police case that, somebody, in any case, I want to get this in compliance. And unfortunately, we could not do it because I was busy with other things. I just came back. I was out of country. Otherwise, you would have got this taken care of. Actually, I was trying. So finally, I have found a licensed contractor, New Edge Construction, who is going to take my case and who is going to do whatever is necessary. I am not so much familiar with this. However, I have one question. We did not put any fence. What is the violation about the fence?
There is no violation for a fence, sir. When showing that page, if you mind dropping back to the permits page, Ruth. One forward. So this is a page showing all the current permits on the property. During presentation, we like to give the couple of permits that are visible so that there's no confusion and that anyone thinks, oh, that might be the permit that corrects my violation.
Okay.
We're just showing that these are the permits that are on the property. So
Got
there
it.
is a permit for the fence.
Okay, great. So we need two things. One is the deck made compliant, and also the windows that he put, so the windows adhere to the codes. These two violations that we have.
Correct. Those are the two violations.
Okay. And I will try,
Sir, are you able to do that by November 10th?
I sure should be able to do that. However, if I may request some extra time, let's say December 8 or so, 30 days more, I should be able to do that. But I'm trying my best to get it done before November 10th.
The county is fine with 90 days.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have anything further that you want to add?
No, thanks.
Okay.
I
Then I'll
will-
go ahead and rule that the property is in violation of the county's codes as cited, and the property owner will be given until December 8th at 8 a.m. to come to compliance, or a fine of $50 a day will be imposed for each violation.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the next case we're going to call is 22-69-CESM, Annie Hillary. Oh, you know what? I didn't take a look. She wasn't here. Nope, scratch that. Let's do 22-73, CESM, Raphael Bernab. Okay. And so were you here when we swore everyone in?
Yes.
Yes, 73.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
So accepted.
Case number 2273 CESM is for the property located at 104 Mohawk Lane, Altamont Springs, which is owned by Raphael R. Bernabe, sir?
Burnaby.
Burnaby, okay, Burnaby. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. Description of the violation is installation of a fence without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 1/24/22. Notice to respondent was on 2/1/22. Compliance date was 3/1/22. Follow-up inspections, as shown, both on-site visit and via computer. Results of re-inspections, the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Raphael A. Burnaby is the record owner of the property. This photograph
Bless you.
shows the posted notice of this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 1/24/22, another 3/7/22, 8/22/22, and finally 9/7/22. This screen shows an application was received on 2/7/22 to correct the violation. This application is currently under review and has not yet been issued as a permit. This application is waiting corrections for zoning. The comments said that it needed a new survey showing wetlands and buffer required, cannot be older than 5 years. This screen shows a copy of the application applied for, and it is currently in PC status pending zoning corrections, which are that survey that was needed. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2273 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 104 Mohawk Lane, Altamont Springs, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Sir?
Your Honor, I didn't install the fence, I just replaced it. Because when I bought the property, there was a fence there. So I just put a new fence, the chain links with the green stuff there. So I tried to apply for the permit, but they never contact me of what I need.
Is there any record of a permit application on this property?
Yes, Your Honor, there is. He applied for the permit. It is, what we were discussing earlier, it is
Okay.
currently in plan check. It is just waiting. It needs a survey of the wetlands and buffer zone where the comments that zoning had left on needing corrections.
Okay.
Oh, and the survey must be newer than 5 years old, 5 years old or newer. So at this point, it is the permit has been applied for, and he's currently just waiting on a survey.
Oh, I need a new server to do it.
You would get better information if you go ahead and talk to zoning. It's just upstairs on the second floor, but what I was able to read on the case file was that they were requesting a 5-year-old or newer wetlands survey showing the buffer zones of the wetlands.
Okay.
So, sir, do you feel like you can get all of that accomplished in 60 days? That's pretty generous, I believe, since you submitted that in February.
I'll try.
Okay. Then I'm going to go ahead and find that the property is in violation of the county's code, that it be brought into compliance by receipt of a permit following the requirements of the county code for obtaining that permit within 60 days, or actually by November 10th, 2022, or you will incur a fine of $50 a day. Thank you.
Sir.
The next case that we're going to hear is 2275 CESM. Is anyone here for that case?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
75.
Before we get started, can I ask how to pronounce this so I stop butchering it?
Oh, the name of the organization
Yes, sir.
is Tezo Bata Vihara Inc.
Tezo Bata.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
Accepted.
Case number 2275 CESM is for the property located at 851 Cochrane Road, Geneva, which is owned by Tezo Bata
Vihara.
Vihara, Inc. The violation charge is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is installation of a porch addition without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 12/27/21. Notice to respondent was on 12/29/21. Compliance date was 4/14/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections are that the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows that Tezo Bata Vihara Inc. is the record owner of the property. This is a copy of the certified return receipt for notice of this hearing. This is a photograph of the violation taken 12/27/21. Another taken 4/22/22, 8/22/22, and finally 9/7/22. This screen shows no permits have been applied for or issued to correct the violation. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2275 CESM, it is determination that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 851 Cochrane Road, Geneva, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Lang, and I'm one of the 5 officers of this organization. We're strictly volunteers. We're in charge of maintaining this property. When the previous owner, the old monk, passed away, we took over in 2019, so we're trying to maintain this property to the best that we can. First, I want to make sure that you've seen the certified letter that we sent to Mr. Kasich in response to his March 17 letter to us.
Did you bring a copy of the letter with you today?
I did.
Would you like to submit that into evidence?
I can. Can I bring it?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh, it's the certified mail receipt.
You do have the letter in the file.
May I approach and see that?
Sure. Have you seen it before?
No, I have not seen this letter. And in fact, this one was not even tracking. It's actually the exact opposite. This is the
Is this your address?
It's
Yeah,
our
but is that
office.
our-
Yeah,
yeah,
that's our office.
Okay. Okay, for some reason, the letter did not make it to the county, and I see that you do have a certified return receipt that was paid for, but did you get the card back?
Yes, ma'am. Did I make a copy of that?
No, I don't have the card. Okay, this page says it was delivered that it was picked up at a postal facility. Okay. I do not have a signature card, but at any rate, what can you give us, what the contents of the letter, what you were trying to indicate, so that the county can,
Yes, ma'am. Basically, we were trying to say that we didn't think it was a violation, but if it was indeed a violation, that we are willing to comply, to correct it. But we needed some additional time and additional guidance, because when we got this letter, we only had 10 days to comply with it, and there was no way we could have done that in 10 days.
okay.
That would have required, we frantically went around looking for a licensed contractor, and nobody was willing to take this project. Maybe they were too busy, or maybe they was not, it's a small project, maybe it wasn't worth it to them. But in any case, we couldn't find any licensed contractor locally. We finally found a licensed engineer/contractor in Jacksonville, where I live. He was willing to do it, except that he didn't know where to start, because he said you should ask for some guidance from the county, because the porch may not be totally out of code, or out of compliance, because parts of it may be in meeting the code, parts of it may not. So if you can get the county to come out and tell you what needs to be fixed to be fully compliant, then he's willing to take the project.
Do you believe that your contractor could have the work completed that is necessary to get the deck permit, or the porch addition permitted by November 10th?
It depends on what needs to be done, because if it's too expensive, we are a low-budget organization. We have we basically depend on donations. And for the past 3 years, due to COVID and lack of a month there, we received 0 donations. So everything we have to spend out of our own pocket. So depending on how much it will cost to get it permitted and do additional construction, we may decide to just take the whole thing down, which we prefer not to, because we put a lot of work into it. Or we may, if it's within our budget, we can try to do it. But I think we would need more than, if you can give us more time than the November 10, that will give us more breathing room.
Do you, I have here Do you have a hearing in January?
Yes.
What is the January hearing date?
It would be second Thursday in January.
So,
Second Thursday of January.
Or if you don't get a meeting.
okay. Do you, the county has asked for 60 days, but if I were to give you 120, since you are, I am going to go ahead and accept your letter into the record. I do believe that you are attempting to try to work with the county, and that you did try to take steps toward communicating with them, which I appreciate.
May I add that, my request in the letter, again, is to have some guidance from the building department to, so that we won't be, my contractor didn't want to submit an application that, he's not from Seminole County, so he didn't want to go back and forth, with the building department. He wanted to make it right, from the get-go. That's why we wanted to get some guidance from the building department.
Is there, would you be able to meet on the site?
I would have absolutely no problem meeting y'all out at the property again. And then just as far as further clarification goes, once the permit has been issued, the violation goes away. So once you have that porch properly drawn up and then apply for it, once that permit is issued, the violation goes away. And that's when you would start the process of having an inspector come out and check if the current structure in the field matches what's on the plans, because the plans will have to be up to code to apply for a permit. So if there's a discrepancy between what's in the field and what's on the plans, after the permit's issued is when you would address that.
Okay, I understand. So if additional work needs to be done.
Right, you're not going to do any work on the actual structure for now. You're
Okay.
just applying for a permit,
Okay.
Unless he decides he wants to pull it out.
unless you want to demolish it. But I do remember there was some electrical and things in there.
Yeah, for
So-
fan, yeah.
Right, so you will need a demo permit in
Right.
order to demolish that because there is electrical present. So you'll have to get a demolition permit. If you decide to demolish it, you'll have to get a demolition permit, then demolish it, then call in an inspection so that they can see that you've properly safed off any electrical wires or anything left.
And also, if you go to get the permit to actually have it a permitted structure, he's going to have plans, correct?
Correct.
So that's why I think the additional time might be necessary. It's a little difficult to get contractors these days.
Can I have Jack chime in on the electrical part, because I think that the outlets were already there, right?
There was outlets on the back of the house that we just tied into those outlets.
Can you
to-
please state your name for the record?
Jack Smith.
Thank you.
So there was outlets in the back of the house. One outlet was actually from the electrical panel that's on the other building, and it's an underground in conduit, PVC conduit that comes into the building, and there was a box there. So, and then there was another box for where a light switch was. And our electrical connections were taking off from the box from the other panel and the light switch to tie up lights. Instead of the back porch light, we tied into a light in the ceiling.
So we will still need a demo permit?
Correct. You would still, because there are wires present, there is electricity present in the structure. Because I do remember you had a couple of ceiling fans, I believe it
Yes.
was out there? Yes. So because those are in the footprint of the extension, the porch, they would be part of what's getting demoed. Therefore, you would have to get a demo permit because there's electrical present in what's getting demoed.
Okay, but the other boxes that were already there?
If they're existing, we're not, if they were part of the original house and you haven't touched them or changed them, we're not worried about them. It's what you've brought into the extension on the house.
The only changes I made was the boxes that were there were quite old and they were kind of nasty, so I put a new box, that's all.
Okay, so yeah, so you'll definitely, when you do, if you do demo it, or if you get the permit and have it actually applied for in permitted structure, you'll have to have an inspection either way. And they will check those connections. They'll check whether, if it stays, they'll check those connections to make sure that they're properly done, or if you remove it, they'll make sure that you brought those back to the previous connection and properly removed them.
Okay, but a new box is not something I would have to, replacing a box,
Just a box,
a 2x4 electrical
I believe
box.
so for just a single box. You would have to.
The way I understand is for minor repairs, you don't really need a permit, you just need to make sure it's in the code.
Electricity is a little different because of the danger involved. We can discuss this afterwards, so we're not kind of taking up everybody else here's time.
Okay.
But as far as that goes, we'll have a discussion about it afterwards.
Okay.
Again, we can meet, just give me a call and we'll meet sometime probably next week.
Okay. Can I, if I can take a little bit more time to explain the situation, a little history, because the original citation was issued back in December 29, before Mr. Kasich took over this position.
Sir, are you asking for more than 120 days? Because if you're not...
No, I just want to
Okay.
explain
No, I understand. I completely get it.
that it wasn't, Mr. Haley said it didn't need a permit because it was already permitted.
Okay, but it does need one. The county has indicated that it needs a permit, and so you have indicated that you worked hard to construct it, and you did so without a permit. So we need to make sure that we do go through the proper channels to get a permit, or to go through the proper channels to demolish it. At any rate, you need to come into compliance. So I'm willing to, because you did attempt to communicate with the county, I'm willing to give you to January 12th, 2020 at 8 a.m. to come to compliance, or a fine in the amount of $50 a day will be imposed for the violations. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Do you want to put this? Okay, the next case that we're going to hear is 2282 CESM. Yavuz Matui and Fatima Muth. If you'll speak into the microphone, please.
She's not present right now, Fatima Mutlu.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll miss Sam. I have to interpret for him. He speaks Turkish, she doesn't speak English.
okay, were you sworn in at the beginning?
Yes.
Of the, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I'm going to remind you that you are to translate from Turkish to English and English to Turkish to the best of your ability.
Yes, yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
Accepted.
Case number 2282, CESM, is for the property located at 812 Richby Drive, Altamont Springs, which is owned by Yavuz Matlu and Fatima Muth. I apologize if I pronounced that horribly. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is enclosing a carport without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 8/14/20. The notice to respondent was on 8/14/20. Compliance date was 3/22/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections are that the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Yavuz Mutlu and Fatima Muth are the record owners of the property. This photograph shows the posted notice of this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the enclosed carport taken 8/6/20 and another taken 8/6/20. This was taken 10/15/21 and another 12/15/21, 1/28/22, 3/29/22, 8/22/22, and finally 9/7/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violation. Permit 222353 is a roof permit. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation: based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2282 CESM, it is determined that the respondents are the record owners of the property located at 812 Richby Drive, Altamont Springs, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondents to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondents must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
My name is Yavuz Mutlu. I am talking Turkish and my son translate, okay?
And your son's name?
Yusuf Mutlu.
Thank you.
Ben bu evi Ocak 3'te satın aldım. Daha önce ilk defa ev aldığım için böyle bir olay olduğunu bilmiyorum. Ev aldığımdan önce 2 sene önce yapılmıştı. Ben bu şekilde satın aldım.
So it's his first time buying a house, and he bought this house in January 3rd of this year. And this construction was done before, like 2 years before he moved in, and he didn't know he needed to get a permit for it, even though he didn't do it. He didn't construct it himself. So that's basically his case. He's going to continue.
Böyle bir şey olduğunu da bilmiyordum. Buraya geldiğimde öğrendim. Bunun sorumluluğun bana ait olduğunu yeni öğrendim.
So basically, he didn't know that he was responsible after buying it, because he thought like anything that was done before was responsibility of the previous owner. And again, he repeats, it's his first time buying a house, and he didn't know. Basically.
Ben evi alırken 3 oda bir salon, bu odanın da ekstra olduğu söylendi. Benim de 4 tane çocuğum var. Ben de bu şekilde evi satın aldım. Şu anda yapmam gereken şeyi, eğer odayı içeri almaksa bunu yapmak istiyorum. Çünkü 4 tane çocuğum var. Ama benim zamana ve paraya ihtiyacım var. Evin çatısını yeniledim. AC'yi yeniledim. Başka ne yenilemiştim? Diğer şeyleri yeniledim. Dolayısıyla ekstra bir zamana ihtiyacım olacak. Daha evin diğer borçlarını bitiremedim.
So basically, he's stating that when he first bought the house, he thought it was 3 rooms plus this room that was made into a room later on without a permit. So 4 rooms in exact, and he has 4 kids, including me, and he needs this room. He says he's willing to comply, but because we done a lot of work, because this is an old house and we done a lot of work, we changed the AC, we changed the roof, everything. He needs additional time and money to actually work, maybe like 90 days or 120 days to get the permits, the plans and everything done.
Ve ne yapmam gerektiğini burada öğreneceğim şu anda. İlk defa böyle bir şey yapıyorum.
And he needs guidance. He's going to ask some questions regarding what he needs to do.
Okay, and so we can certainly have him get with the county when that process goes to take place. Does the county have an objection to him being given 120 days from the standpoint of that he purchased the home with the improvements in place and did not actively?
With the option of 90 days with the knowledge that they can come back and request more time at the 90-day hearing if they need it?
Okay.
Can I add something? I actually made a call to get the issue resolved and everything. He just needs like really additional time. Maybe like if after 90 days we come back and we can still make a...
Correct.
Okay.
So when the 90 days is coming up, that hearing is,
December 8th.
So the 12/8 hearing, you will call the clerk of courts and ask to be put onto the agenda for that hearing with a request for more time. And then you will essentially come back, we'll do this again, and you'll just request more time. And we'll have no problem giving that to you, but we would prefer to go 90 days, rather than give the full 120.
Okay. I was also going to ask, where can we get like guidance in order to get this issue resolved?
If you come to the building department, they can walk you through the process.
Correct.
At the county. So I do just want to let you know, sir, that regardless of whether you buy a piece of property and there are improvements done, it is your responsibility to do your due diligence and make sure that all the permits have been properly pulled for that piece of property and all of the improvements that are done to that piece of property. Now, that doesn't stop the person who you purchased it from. They should disclose all of that information to you, but nonetheless, you are responsible for that. I'm going to go ahead and find that you are in violation for not having a permit for the addition, and going to order that you come into compliance by December 8th, 2022 at 8 a.m. with the understanding that you could in fact ask for an extension, but that's if you're actively going through the process. I don't want to see you come back before the magistrate asking for additional time if you have not done anything toward getting the permits and getting yourself in a correct situation on the addition. And if for some reason you do not come to compliance by the 8th, then you will have a fine imposed of up to $50 a day. Okay?
Can I have some time to explain him what we just talked about?
Sure.
Baba şimdi 90 gün verdiler geniş yapmamız için. Eğer 90 gün içinde bir aktivite falan yaparsak ama mesela bir şey yaptık, aplikasyon yaptık ama hala şey olmadı, bekliyoruz aplikasyon için 90 gün sonra yapamadık. 90 gün sonra şey isteyebiliriz, zaman isteyebiliriz tekrar bir 90 günde. Ama bir aktivite yapmamız lazım, bir şeyler yapmamız lazım.
Onun dışında
Ne soruyoruz?
bir dakika ne soracaktım? 90 gün yoksa. Benim de zaten borçların bitmesine 3 veya 4 ayım var benim borçların bitmesine. Tamam, ne yapmamız gerektiğini burada öğreneceğiz, değil mi?
So he's asking on regarding what we have to do. Are we going to learn it here, or like get additional guidance here, or in another building?
You need to go to the building department.
Correct. So once you leave here, go through these double doors here, go through the next set of glass double doors, cut a left, go through those double doors, and that's the permitting department right there for building. Go to that front desk, and they'll be able to give you a little bit better guidance on what it's going to take to be able to get a permit.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, the next case we're going to hear, 22-84 CESM Hideaway Cove at Oviedo HOA.
Thank you.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
So entered.
Case number 2284 CESM is for the property located at unassigned Oviedo, Tract O, which is owned by Hideaway Cove at Oviedo Homeowners Association Incorporated. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is the installation of street lighting without the required permit. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was on 3/21/22. Notice to respondent was 3/28/22. Compliance date 5/9/22. Follow-up inspections as shown, both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections, the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Hideaway Cove at Oviedo Homeowners Association Incorporated is the record owner of the property. This is a photograph showing the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 3/21/22. Another 3/21/22. 21/22. 5/23. 6/28. And finally 9/7/22. This screen shows no permits applied for or issued to correct the violation. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2284 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at unassigned Tract O Oviedo in Seminole County as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate or the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permits for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. If the respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Your Honor. My name is Derek Henry, and I'm with MI Homes. MI Homes developed this site. We have turned it over to the HOA, which is now why it's under the HOA's name and not MI Homes anymore. And we are the ones that hired the electric company, which is Duke Energy, to install the street lights within this community. These are private streets. We've gone back to Duke Energy and said, the county is saying we need a permit, and they said, no, we don't. So we're kind of in a quandary. They did the first two phases, which are attached to this phase right here, and did not pull a permit, and we have probably 75 other streetlights in the other phases with no permit. And now this third phase, they're saying we need a permit, and again, Duke Energy is telling me we don't need a permit, and we've never pulled a permit within these communities in private streets. And we have a recorded plat, when I say we, MI Homes has a recorded plat that gives them a utility easement to install their lines and lights.
Okay. So does the county maintain these roadways?
No. No, because these are private streets, and we have gates and everything. So.
Okay. And has the county required lighting permits for the prior phases?
At this time, don't have the answer to that. We are concerned with Tract O because that's what the complaint was on.
And can you give me some information about the complaint?
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Okay.
Your Honor, Duke Energy's telling me that in private streets where they have a recorded easement for them to install their lines, they've never had to pull a permit. I'm just going by what they tell me. And I have a copy of the plat if you need to see it. I mean, it shows they have a recorded easement.
May I approach?
In the paragraph underneath it where it says James Dale.
Well, she said it, so. I'm looking at the complaint documents. I'm assuming it comes through a computerized system you all receive.
I believe that complaint was actually a phone call, perhaps,
Okay.
from Judith Behrman.
Okay. And she just complains that there are lights on the cul-de-sac.
Correct, the complaint was for the lighting on 2 cul-de-sacs without a permit, and then we checked the permitting system for Tract O, which is what those 2 cul-de-sacs are on, there were none.
It's the street. She didn't say.
James Delaney, or delayed.
Is this
paragraph.
what she said?
All she said was site lighting on 2 cul-de-sacs.
Right,
and
so
then
she
our
didn't know there weren't
inspector-
permits.
No, our inspector went out and as a result of the complaint.
Okay. How do you all handle street lighting and permits from Duke Energy on streets you permit? Or that you do maintain, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
The building official will be answering some questions.
Can we go ahead and get you sworn in?
Yep,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give us the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Bob Pike, building official, Seminole County. Question is, who owns the light poles?
Duke Energy.
Duke Energy does own the light poles?
Yes, sir. This is the subdivision we leased them from. Yes, sir. They maintain them. If lights go out, they take care of it and everything.
Okay, are these poles in private property, or are they on a deeded easement?
Deeded easement.
Okay, and they are power company poles?
Yes, sir, they are. And again, I have the plat. If I'll show you the easements if you want.
Because I'm just learning of this one, so.
Yes, sir.
And where are they getting the power for the poles?
They installed underground lines and the transformers. Again, they have recorded easements where they're allowed to go, same places that AT&T went when they put in their phone lines and Spectrum went when they put in their cable lines. We have easements where they put in their lines to service the houses and the light poles.
Okay, one moment. Duke Energy poles?
Okay.
On a deeded easement?
Okay.
So how did we cite them?
What do you mean?
Well, they're owned by the power company, they're exempt. They're not private poles, those are utility, he's saying the utility poles. Can we verify that? Can we verify that they are utility-owned poles? Did we verify that?
I'm not sure.
I think that would probably be reflected on their bill, because you're leasing those poles
Correct.
from them indirectly.
Right, the HOA pays that bill, so yes.
Right. He's provided testimony here today that they do lease those poles.
Okay. So the HOA does lease those poles from the power company?
That's the testimony that was provided here today.
Yes, sir.
Correct. So they're leasing from the power company, and they just charge you, and you all pay for them?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to say that they are exempt from permitting.
Okay. We'll go ahead and withdraw the case then. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Actually, to correct the record, I'm just going to indicate that there was no violation on the property. Okay. And the next case that we're going to call is 2287 CESM Maria Bonilla.
Gracias. Ok, está bien.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
Accepted.
Case number 2287 CESM is for the property located at 9709 Bear Lake Road, Apopka, which is owned by Maria Bonilla. The violation charged is Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is interior alteration to non-residential structure constructed without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 3/27/18. Notice to respondent was 3/27/18. Compliance date was 6/20/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections are that the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Maria Bonilla is the record owner of the property. This photograph shows the posted notice of this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the violation taken 3/26/18. Another taken 3/26/18. This was 4/6/22. 4/6/22. And another from 4/6/22. Continuing photographs of the interior from that date. Now we go to 6/28/22. 6/28/22. And finally 9/7/22. This screen shows an application was received on 2/10/22 to correct the violation. This application is currently under review and has not been issued as a permit. The special exception is needed for a guest house. If returning to storage, it must be reflected in the plans. This is a copy of the application and date applied for. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they're in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2287 CESM, is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 9709 Bear Lake Road, Apopka, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 11th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Hello, Miss. My name is Bill Martinez. That's my mom, Maria Bonilla. She'll speak in Spanish, and I'll help her translate in English. She understands a little bit of English, though, just in case.
Okay, then I'll remind you that you were sworn in, I believe, at the beginning. You need to translate from English to Spanish and Spanish to English to the best of your ability.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, sí, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Eugenia Bonilla. Nosotros compramos la casa. Yo sé que es responsabilidad de no haber chequeado bien los papeles. Ya estaba esa casa y tenía todo, y lo que hicimos fue remodelar. No sabíamos que no tenía el permiso, pero ya empezamos a hacer las vueltas para ver si nos dan el permiso. Y entonces estamos esperando a ver de lo que nos diga, ¿no? Sí.
She purchased the property, I'm just going to add a little bit more detail, if that's okay. She purchased the property last year, and she knew it was her responsibility to see if there was no permits, so she'll take responsibility for that. And the only thing she did was to go inside and remodel, and then after we received like all these issues, she knew there used to be storage, another storage. So now she wants to she hired Abacus Construction to take care of it, to help her do all the paperwork. And I don't know why it took them so long to just get the approval form for the siding, the construction. And so now I know that we gotta go to special exception and to get a pre-application. But most likely, if it gets complicated, she would rather just bring it back to storage, what it used to be. But her main thing is if she could bring it to code.
So let me ask the county a question. If she were to try to bring the property, to receive the proper permits and go through all of the processes, could she accomplish that in just 60 days?
As far as trying to keep it the way it is and go through the special exception process, I would have to inquire more information about that. And then as far as converting it back to storage, that would just have to be indicated on the plans, which would require a revision for the plans and have their architect indicate that on the plans. So that could very well happen within 60 days as long as the turnaround time on their architect is good.
Okay. And you are not interested in keeping the property the way that it is and going through the special exception process, knowing that that's not a guarantee, of course. You would have to go through all of those steps.
Yeah, her main thing is like to bring it to code, hopefully. Depends how much, because she already gave the architect like upfront money to do his work, because he's not doing it.
For it to stay in its current state?
To bring it to code to help us do the paperwork. But now I know we gotta do a special exception.
Yeah, I have concerns that they'd be able to secure a special exception within 60 days, if that is the route that they want to take.
If they go that way, they would.
Because I will just go ahead right now. I know where it is, the second floor, and start asking for the process.
The county would be fine with 90 days with the knowledge that they can come back and request more time at the December 8th hearing if that's what they need.
Okay, so if we gave you 90 days,
that's fine.
and then you could decide in that 90-day period whether you in fact want to, what you would like to do with it, whether it's going to be too onerous on you to do the special exception and all of that process. And then if it is the process that you choose and you start going through the process, then if you're not going to complete it within the 90 days, then the county has stated that if you come and let them know and they see this progress, then they're going to be likely to grant you an extension, but you have to ask for it. It wouldn't be automatic.
And I think Kyle, right? Yeah, I think, so you told me, I just go to the second floor and I just follow the steps.
Correct. When you go out these doors, make that left into the building department. There's going to be a little wooden desk on your right. That's the sign-in. Just sign in with her and she'll direct you upstairs.
And last question, I know he's been submitting work for the approval of the construction, whatever's in the shed house right now, has it been approved?
So the permit has not been approved because it is waiting on that special exception. The last I had checked, as far as the building review, had been approved, but it did not yet pass zoning review. So that means that they were fine with the way it was constructed as far as how the plans stated that it was going to be constructed. That passed plan review. Now, the issue is that it's gone to zoning, and its use is requiring a special exception on your property.
Okay.
So your plans did pass plan review.
Okay, now it's go to zone.
Now you're at zoning.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and find that there is a violation on the property for failure to obtain the necessary permits for the build-out of the interior of the structure, and I'm going to provide you until December 8th at 8 a.m. to come into compliance. If you fail to come into compliance by that time, a fine of $50 a day will start.
Thank you, miss.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. Okay, and the last case we have of the regular cases is Annie Hillary, 2269 CESM. Whenever you're ready.
Kyle Kasich, Building Inspector. I have presented a copy of this presentation to the clerk and request it be entered into the record.
So accepted.
Case number 2269 CESM is for the property located at 2320 Church Street, Sanford, which is owned by Annie R. Hillary. The violation charged is Seminole County Code Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. The description of the violation is demolition of existing single-family residence and rebuilding without the required permits. The case summary is as follows. The initial inspection was 1/19/22. Notice to respondent was on 1/19/22. Compliance date was 3/29/22. Follow-up inspections as shown both on-site visit and via computer. Results of the re-inspections, the violation remains on the property. This screenshot from the property appraiser's website shows Annie R. Hillary is the record owner of the property. This is a photograph showing the posting of the notice for this hearing on the property. This is a photograph of the previous residence that was demolished, taken in June of 2013. This is another photograph of the demolished residence taken 4/18/17. And this is a photograph of the new residence that has been built after that previous one was fully demolished, taken on 1/21/22. Another 1/21/22. 3/29/22. 8/22/22. And finally 9/7/22. This screen shows an application was received on 9/7/22 to partially correct the violation. Permit application for 22-15366 is currently under review and has not been issued as a permit. They will need a demolition permit for the previous house that was on the lot in order to be fully in compliance once that permit is issued. This shows a copy of Chapter 40 in which they are in violation of. Recommendation, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 2269 CESM, it is determined that the respondent is the record owner of the property located at 2320 Church Street, Sanford, in Seminole County, as determined by the property appraiser's records, in possession or control of the property, and in violation of Seminole County Code, Chapter 40, Appendix A, Section 105.1. It is further recommended that the special magistrate order the respondent to correct the violation on or before November 10th, 2022. In order to correct the violation, the respondent shall obtain the required permit for the cited violation. If the respondent does not comply with the order, a fine of $50 will be imposed for each day the violation continues or is repeated after compliance. The respondent must contact the inspector to verify compliance. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that the respondent is not present. Do you have any information regarding the structure that did exist there, the age of it or anything? But it appeared to be an older structure. But is it located within any historic district or anything like that? Okay,
Negative, there's no historic district in that area.
okay. I believe the egregious nature of how this has been handled, it's one thing if someone accidentally demolishes a property, but when they reconstruct it without the permits as well, it goes to a new level. And then the fact that they did not appear here today, in addition, causes more concern. I will go ahead and find that a violation has been found on the property, that the respondent is ordered to come into compliance by November 10th, 2022 by 8 a.m. And if they do not achieve compliance by that date, that a fine in the amount of $100 a day will be imposed. Thank you. Okay, so we only had one more, which is the special request.
Correct.
And it's my understanding that we are in agreement with the special request. Case number 2129 CESM Jason Mowry at 104 South Crystal View. Oh, yeah. Sanford. And you have agreed to a continuation through December 8th. And the previous fine was at $50 a day?
Correct, and we're waiving fees with the
Well,
agreement.
I'm going to impose this, just an amended order to extend the date to December 8th without any mention of the fees, based on the fact that the individual, it's my understanding the individual requested to come to the August hearing, and your August hearing was canceled, and so that's through no fault of their own. So I am just going to amend the prior order, giving them until December 8th at 8 a.m. to come into compliance, or the $50 a day fine will be reinstated. Thank you. And I believe that concludes all of the cases for today. Okay, we are adjourned.